My daughter was about to turn 1. She was just born just a few months prior to me deploying. And I had news that my wife back home was beginning to have an affair. And at this point, I was already on my 8th deployment, and I've, experienced so much in combat, things that are like difficult and challenging, but having my marriage fall apart and not being able to do anything, that really tore me up. And it was in that year where my PTSD was starting to become very apparent. Here I am in Afghanistan, leaving a combat zone, only essentially to walk into another one. As the affair increased and became more and more involved, I was perceived as an obstacle. My ex-wife started to take action against me where I could be set aside and get thrown out of the picture. Eventually what happened is I was under a criminal investigation for some false charges. At the same time, I'm fighting for my rights to be a father for my daughter, and I'm fighting for all this stuff that I'm experiencing with the PTSD. This is all-time high in 2016. I was struggling with suicide and depression and hypervigilance and anxiety. It was difficult to even leave my apartment and go anywhere and interact with people. Due to the struggle that I was experiencing in my marriage, I actually, for the first time, began to reach out to an Army chaplain. And he began to explain to me the hope that's in Christ and the promises and the goodness of God and the grace of God. And all this was super foreign to me, even with my own upbringing. It was never expressed to me this way before. And this was the first time that someone had sit there with me and opened up the Bible and began to actually minister it to me. And as I began to go to church and I was still dealing with my legal battle, there was a light at the end of the tunnel when finally the decision came from the civilian courts to dismiss all charges, and I finally felt like I could breathe. More hardship came my way when I found out that the Army was going to decide to press charges anyways. Here I was, I thought I was in the clear, everything's fine, I'm finally gonna get my life back. I'll finally be able to be a father, not have to worry about all these false charges, and now here it is, all tumbling down again. And I thought, what's the whole point of going to church and serving God as I thought I was doing? I went back home. I had my pistol always by my bedside, and I was adamant about taking my life that day. I had decided that this is what I'm gonna do, and nothing was gonna stop me. And right at the last minute, I stopped. I just felt like I shouldn't do this. But I was still adamant on doing it, but I just felt like something was saying to me, don't do this. Not until after you watch a sermon. And so I took my phone out with my pistol in one hand still. I began to watch a sermon from the church that I was attending. The pastor talked about, whatever it is that you're struggling with, whatever it is that you're suffering through and going through, like God's not done with you. He has a plan for your life and there's hope. And I changed my mind. I did not take my life that day. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I need to just trust God in this. I don't know what that means, but I need to just trust God in this. And within 4 months, I found myself trial and then guilty and incarcerated. And I was given a 18-month sentence in a military correctional facility. My first part of the prison sentence, I was in 45 days in solitary confinement. And the only thing I had was a Bible. And I began to read it. And there was another chaplain that would come by and explain to me all these things that I was reading. And eventually it was there where I fully ended up just surrendering everything to Christ. No more 1 foot in, 1 foot out. No more some selfishness. What can I get out of following you, God? And in prison, God worked and continued to build me and shape me and teach me all about him and what it means to follow him. Shortly after getting out of prison, I actually ended up meeting my wife, who I'm now married to, Rebecca. And we have such a wonderful marriage, and it's completely night and day from what it was before. And I can see the difference on what the Lord does when he takes two people who come together as a husband and wife to truly honor him rather than getting married because of your own selfish needs and desires. Every day, every week is dedicated to being a father for Christ, being a husband for Christ, and serving him faithfully and being a faithful follower and disciple for Christ. It's just been such an amazing blessing to see how the Lord's completely redeemed everything and turned it all around from where it once was, and finally having the light of life and hope, and having Christ in my heart constantly shining through all this darkness.